Welcome back to the comics class, and today we're looking at the top 10 worst members of the Avengers ever. The Avengers first hit the comic scene 57 years ago, and since 1963, their rotating roster has been home to some of the most powerful heroes that Marvel has to offer. But having over 100 different members come and go, not every member on the team is going to be as useful as Thor or Iron Man. With that being said, we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 members of the Avengers that were either too underpowered, too boring, or just an outright dumb character idea. Alright, let's get right into this.
Avengers! Assemble.
Starting things off at number 10 is Thunderstrike, also known as Eric Masterson. Now, Thunderstrike's biggest reason for falling on this list is simply being a product of the 1990s, when everything had to be extreme.
Right guard extreme sport. Get extreme. Get right guard.
For whatever reason, Marvel attempted to replace Thor with a newer, more extreme version. Eric took on the mantle of Thunderstrike in 1993, which he then immediately gave up custody of his son Kevin to his ex-wife, who seemingly didn't want him, and who doesn't love reading about a terrible father. Thunderstrike was a weaker version of Thor, wielded a mace instead of the classic hammer, sported a ponytail, armbands, and a very 90s cut-off leather jacket, which doesn't make you extreme, it just makes you a tool. Thunderstrike was unnecessary and unwanted, and was killed off by 1995.
Avengers! Assemble.
Taking our number 9 spot is going to be Tigra. She joined the Avengers in 1981, and as you can see, she's a giant cat lady in a bikini. And when you're on a team made up of gods, hulks, and geniuses, she's certainly outclassed by all of her teammates. However, her greatest accomplishment was defeating maybe Marvel's most powerful being, the Molecule Man. She did this without using any of her powers. She just absolutely destroyed his self-esteem, repeatedly calling him a nerd that should have never been born. But to her credit, she does acknowledge that she's not in the same ballpark as the Avengers and resigns from the team on her own, later joining the newly formed West Coast Avengers.
Avengers! Assemble.
Racing to our number 8 spot is the Whizzer, aka Robert Frank. And if Quicksilver is the poor man's version of the Flash, that would put the Whizzer far below the poverty line. This speedster first appeared in 1941, battling alongside Captain America during World War II, although the explanation of how he got his powers should put him on this list alone. While on a trip to Africa with his father, he was bitten by a cobra snake, and in an attempt to save his son's life, Robert's father injected him with mongoose blood, which gave him superhuman speed. And when the Flash can reach speeds that allow him to travel through time, the Whizzer only tops out at 100 miles an hour. After World War II, he would spend the next few decades battling alcoholism and depression, but re-emerged to help aid his son from becoming a villain. And he briefly joins the Avengers, but due to him being an old man at this point, the dude has not one, not two, but 3 heart attacks while a short time he served as an Avenger. Passing from his final one, he does re-emerge once to be immediately killed by Deadpool. And I mean, he was killed immediately. A sad end for this legacy character.
Avengers! Assemble.
Slashing his way to our number 7 spot is the Swordsman. Swordsman's superpower is being in okay shape and knowing how to use a sword. And you would probably say that he belongs in a circus, rather than Earth's mightiest heroes. And that's exactly where he got his start. He did come from a circus, and where he met a young Clint Barton, or better known as Hawkeye, who saw potential in Clint, trained him to use blades and archery, although eventually attempted to kill Barton. In 1965, he was able to trick the Avengers into letting him join, believing it would be easier for him to commit more crimes being on the team. But he is quickly discovered after having second thoughts about blowing all the Avengers up with a bomb. So yeah, not only was he underpowered, but he tried to kill the entire team. So, not a great team member.
Avengers! Assemble.
Splashing his way to our number 6 spot is the Stingray, also known as Walter Newell. Stingray is what happens when Aquaman and a lame version of Iron Man have a baby. Joining the Avengers in 1995, Walter has no actual powers, but he uses a suit he designed to explore deep sea, although the suit can shoot electric blasts. And considering that he's basically useless unless battling underwater, which they usually don't, Stingray simply doesn't have enough abilities for readers to care about or to be an effective Avenger.
Avengers! Assemble.
Our number 5 spot goes to Rick Jones. This unlikable character is the sole reason why Bruce Banner became the Hulk, because he decided to drive his car onto a military base as a prank to impress his friends, just as Bruce was detonating the gamma bomb, prompting Bruce to run out and save him while getting blasted by gamma radiation. He then served as an honorary Avenger after the Hulk left the group at the end of issue 2. He then guilted his way into taking over the mantle of Captain America's fallen sidekick, Bucky, even though Cap objected, forcing Cap to even call him Bucky and wearing Bucky's actual costume. And although his time as Bucky was short-lived, taking a dead man's name and clothes is just low. and it left readers thinking that Rick was more of a jerk than a lovable young sidekick.
Avengers! Assemble.
Our number 4 spot goes to Avenger X, also known as Cressida. While the Avengers were in Thailand to battle the Stranger, during the battle, Avenger X was able to amplify the powers of the Avengers. And after the battle, when she tried to tell the Avengers how her powers operated, she was interrupted by the Scarlet Witch, who invited her to join the team. On the outside, having a member be able to amplify the rest of the team's powers seems pretty helpful. However, the part she wasn't able to explain, she can only amplify people's powers by draining the life force of others, and essentially killing them. When she joined the team in New York, she ends up killing an entire nursing home by draining them to improve the powers of the Avengers. All those poor grandpas. She does eventually turn on the Avengers, but she's eventually defeated and buried alive. That's what you get for killing all those old people. She is pretty powerful, but an Avenger that has to kill large groups of people kind of contradicts the whole purpose of the team.
Avengers! Assemble.
Our number 3 spot goes to a character you've probably never heard of, Maria Brandon. Maria was a talented movie star in the 1920s. So by the time she joins the Avengers in 1993, she's likely 90 years old. Hawkeye and Mockingbird were at her mansion doing a walkthrough, thinking about converting her mansion into the new West Coast Avengers headquarters, until the two heroes were attacked by Crossfire mid-tour, and Crossfire seemingly had the two pinned down until Maria picked up the villain's crossbow and shot him, saving their lives. However, due to all the excitement, Maria fell to the ground. Hawkeye then named her the first new West Coast Avenger, just moments before she passed away. She holds the Avengers record for shortest time spent as an official member. In the end, she was a 90-year-old woman with no superpowers who died immediately. Not the most effective Avenger.
Avengers! Assemble.
Slinging his way to our number 2 spot is the Two-Gun Kid, also known as Matt Hawk. This cowboy from the 1870s has the superpower of being able to shoot 2 guns, sometimes both at the same time, which is not that impressive. But if it helps, he also knows how to use a lasso. When the Avengers were battling the time-traveling Kang, they found themselves in the 1870s, where the Two-Gun Kid decided to help the Avengers defeat Kang. And afterwards, he was invited to join the Avengers back in their modern time, where he, of course, becomes close friends with the other useless Avenger, Hawkeye. Eventually, the Two-Gun Kid begins to understand that this is not his time and asks to go back home, which the Avengers quickly agree to. This Avenger probably could have been easily replaced with any gun owner off the street, and they probably would have even done better, since he was still using the guns from the 1800s. So before we get into our number 1 worst Avenger ever, I wanted to go over a few dishonorable mentions. These heroes may have missed the top 10, but they still deserve a shout out for just how useless they were.
Avengers! Assemble.
Flatman, a mutant with the same powers of Mr. Fantastic. And after dropping out of college, he eventually joined the Great Lakes Avengers. Although he shares the same powers of Reed Richards, he lacked all the important things that Reed has, like his intelligence and money. Flatman eventually joined a party organizer, where he made money impersonating Reed Richards.
Avengers! Assemble.
D-Man, also known as Demolition Man. This guy just took some drugs that gave him increased strength. The main reason he finds himself on this list is because he takes up a costume that makes him look like a weird crossover of the Wolverine and Daredevil. And his biggest accomplishment was operating the phones for Captain America's hotline. Alright, it is time for the number 1 worst Avenger ever.
Avengers! Assemble.
And taking the number 1 spot of shame is going to be Dinosaur. I'm assuming the creation of Dinosaur is a result of all the writers at Marvel giving up in life.
I don't know what the that was.
This Great Lake Avenger is a dinosaur lady with the ability to fly and kind of make her voice into a weapon, and that's about it. Little is known about her history, other than she's likely really old. She also lacked the ability to communicate with anyone else, and was eventually given a whistle to alert others of an emergency. So they basically told her, if you see something shady going on, blow its whistle and some real superheroes will come. She would later fall in love with the leader of the Great Lakes Avengers, who's not a dinosaur, so that's weird. But in 2005, she would die while on a mission. Her whole concept is very strange. The way that Marvel over-sexualizes a dinosaur just makes her even more disturbing. But that's going to wrap up our list of top 10 worst Avengers ever. If you think I missed any, let me know in the comments. But if you like this video, go ahead and slap that like button. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.